Here with Scott Markovich, and we're talking about the natural gas buses that are at Rim of the World High School. Scott, you're running for 2nd District County Supervisor in the County of San Bernardino, Southern California, and through your leadership as a board member of the Rim School District and working closely with California State Senator Bob Dutton, want to give a shout out to him. Now there's been a lot of talk about the Natural Gas Act, energy independence, and how does that tie into, along with T. Boone Pickens's vision, how does that tie into your vision for your campaign?
He's a guy that you pull it up on your bootstraps, you do your own thinking, and you just you get up and you make it happen. And sometimes government really gets in the way, and that's frustrating to businessmen and entrepreneurs. So it's my vision as running for supervisor that we start to formulate master plans in governments for these new economies, and the new one of them is the sustainable alternative energy resources.
Scott, you talk about new energy resources, a master plan. I like what I hear. So how do you see solar and wind playing a part in the new economies?
They are a good start, and there's lots of potential to where they could be a majority of the producers, so it would get us away from the dependency on foreign oil. And this is what Pickens is all about. And I think sometimes he's misunderstood. And I think he's misunderstood is because we don't have the buy-in of the leadership in this country, and we need to get leaders that are nonpartisan, elected with the vision of changing the economies, because the existing economies right now are failing us, especially in California.
And I have been here in California for all of our lives, and we know that that's going to be a tough one to initiate change with the new economies. But you use an analogy about the snow plows clearing the way. Tell us about that, and let's get back to those buses.
We need to get the snow plows out, getting this snow and the dirt and the rubbish out of the way of the highways of entrepreneurialism in these new economies, to allow people to get in their cars and drive down the pathways. And a lot of the Pickens Plan, I think, represents that. And we were on at our own schools. We're starting to work with CNG buses, which it's a good start, because number one, the schools are able to put little capital in this because the AQMD, which regulates a lot of this stuff, is willing to provide them.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Now, AQMD is the Air Quality Management District, often referred to as SCAQMD, Southern California Air Quality Management District. We're going to scoot right over to the Rim of the World High School and talk with Dave Kemp. He's a supervisor of transportation, and Dave's going to walk us through the differences between the CNG buses and the diesel buses, which right now we have 2 on loan, actually given to us, and more on the way.
The overall bus is basically the same. The driver's area is the same, the controls are the same, the seats are the same. I mean, there's interior-wise, there's nothing. You can always tell a CNG it's got the vent pipe on it. It's just like the air tanks on the bus. You get too much pressure on there, there's a safety valve that releases the air out of the tank so you don't blow them up.
Nice. Any other design features built into the CNG buses?
The tanks are all wrapped in nylon and protected. They're supposed to take impact. They have a 20-year life expectancy where you have to either reinsert them or pull them out and put new ones in. Right. But they're crash protected and stuff. I've heard very limited problems because all your major metropolitan transit districts are running them and stuff. I have very little problems.
Could you tell us, Dave, what's the difference between the CNG and the diesel engines?
The CNG burns cleaner, so the oil, it doesn't get the oil all dirty and stuff like a diesel does. So there's pros and cons and trade-offs with the motor. This CNG is a lower BTU, where diesel's a higher. So when you talk about the power and performance, there's a little bit less because you get a little less BTU out of them. You don't get quite the torque and stuff, even though the horsepower isn't that far off. So the tailpipe will become clean, and you won't see stuff. This, standing behind it, you don't smell it. It's like burning your stove at home. It's natural gas. You don't smell it. The only thing you'll smell is if it's leaking that odor that natural gas has.
Does the bus drive any different? Can you tell the difference?
It's a little less get up and go and pick up and stuff up here, especially in the mountain. They're a little bit sluggish on flat ground. They run really well. and you probably won't notice much of a difference with them. You get them up on a hill, they just don't quite have the torque and quite the power, but they drive, you know, they're drivable and doable.
So
if you're spoiled with the old diesel, you might complain, but I mean, they definitely will get the job done, especially the new ones with the Cummins engine. The horsepower's up to 280 on them from 260. And I understand they could go up more in the horsepower, but the transmissions that they put in these school buses won't handle too much more, so you're right at that cusp.
And then these new laws coming up, these kids actually would benefit by being, you know, kind of certified with this kind of mechanics on these engines. What do they call these engines? Gas?
CNG.
TNG engines.
CNG. This was donated, and it's a Bluebird from, and the dealer is AZ Bus down in Colton area, and they've already been up here giving our guys some training on it.
Cool.
A part of the grant was to do some retrofits to the shop because CNG is lighter than air, so you have to do some retrofit. You got the heater up in there, the light fixtures, so if you get a gas leak in the shop, you don't blow it up with the heater or the light, so you have to do some, you know, retrofits and some stuff that are going on. So yes, it's different, but it's like any car today. You plug the computer, there's a computer port over here somewhere we plugged into the other day, and you plug in, you get the diagnostic stuff off the computer, and it can tell you pretty much what's going on, except for basic mechanics. You still got to know basic mechanics because computers don't tell you everything. Probably 2 hours or less for a fast, but you don't get the range out of a fast fill. You do a slow fill, you get more range, but it takes many more hours. Fixed route and around in a local area or like a city transit, these can work very efficiently and very well with the range and parking them overnight and filling them. I mean, it works out well once you get the infrastructure in and everything online to do it.
Mass transportation is, if you're wanting to reduce carbon emissions, you got to go towards mass transportation, not only for the kids but the general public. And you know, it's just a learning curve, and we have to start with the kids and keep that sustainable. And also when they move to the valley and stuff, you know, it's just better for society in general. You know,
Overall, they're not a bad bus.
There's concern about the weight of the buses. Are they heavier?
Overall, yeah, it's heavier than just a straight diesel bus. You got all those extra tanks underneath there, so yes, you got some additional weight, but they're weight legal to run on the roads, and the axles to carry it.
Right.
They are pushing the maximum that you can put, but they're within the requirements and the legality. So it is a heavier bus. There's 5 tanks under that bus, and you got more weight. Any bus you get within, I think it's 5 days of receiving it, assuming we don't have any issues here with fueling, whatever, let's say that bus is being traded, the grant, you're taking that bus is going down to the scrap yard getting torn apart. In other words, they want to take it off the road, destroy it so it's never run again.
I think in the long term it's a good win, you know, and we just got to work out the glitches and be careful not to commit our buses that are working to the scrap yard, you know, because our number one objective is to get kids to school, and
I played that really sloppy, but it was okay.